guaranteed that man would have went and shared the wonderful miracle that would have happened to him. Peter confesses Jesus is the Christ. Now this is a very interesting passage, because this gets used a lot in understanding that Jesus is the Messiah. Christ's ministry has led up to this point, because now we're switching to the focus of who he is and why he is here. So far what the Lord's tried to do is build momentum in getting to this point where it's time to personally start to reveal that he is the Messiah. Now it's going to be credible and authoritative. It's going to be, in many ways, have to be acceptable, because what this will do is it'll shift now the people's inner questioning. Is this man just a prophet? Is this man just a teacher? Is this man just a gifted Pharisee, or whatever they might have thought he was, teacher? This is going to shift now. No, I'm not all of that. I am the Messiah. Everything changes. Once he makes that statement, the whole religious atmosphere changes. The Pharisees are going to rise up, the Sadducees are going to rise up. I guess the curiosity of the Gentiles is going to be invigorated. For the Gentiles, I suppose, it wasn't about whether he was the Messiah or not, it was about the power that he has and what he actually does. It wasn't a religious problem for them. But now Jesus and his disciples went out to the towns of Caesarea Philippi. On the road he asked his disciples, saying to them, "Who do men say I am?" Now this is a question. You know, if Jesus come up to you and said, "Who do you say I am?" I'm just going to say, "You're the Messiah." That's all I've got to say. You're the Messiah. Do with me as you will. And so they answered John the Baptist. Some say Elijah, and others one of the prophets. And he said to them, "But who do you say I am?" Peter answered and said to him, "You are the Christ, you are the Messiah." Then he strictly warned them that they should tell no one about him. Now let's get this in its perspective. He told the demons not to say who he was. If you tell a demon to do something, what will it do? The opposite. He's just told the disciples not to tell anyone. If you tell a person 9 times out of 10 not to tell someone something, what do? They tell. So now the disciples have the revelation through Peter that Christ is the Messiah. But he strictly warned them that they should not tell anyone about him, which was actually going to have, as far as I'm concerned, the opposite effect. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man, the Messiah, must suffer many things. So I told you, everything changes. Now we're going to the cross. Now we come to the message of the cross. Now this is where it gets hard for Christ, because I'm not sure if the religious people of that day were expecting a Messiah to come who would be crucified. They actually thought he was going to have the power to be able to take over the Romans and re-establish Jerusalem as an independent, or Israel even as an independent nation, where he would rule and reign. But that isn't going to take place until the second advent, which is after the rapture. We're all waiting for Christ to come back to the air. That hasn't happened yet, but that's what we're waiting for. He's talking about the second advent. So everything's shifted. The Messiah must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and scribes and be killed. This is the first introduction to the Messiah heading to the cross in the Gospel of Mark. Now everything changes. The first thing they would have asked themselves is, why would the Messiah have to die? Why does the Messiah have to suffer and be killed by the religious people who are supposed to help him, believe in him? But that's how the law works. That's how it all works. That's why there's a different form, two different forms of unbelief. There's the religious form of unbelief caused by thinking there's something you need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. Please, I hope you can get this. And then there's the normal, standard, inherent form of unbelief, whereas our sinful nature is at enmity with God. Whereas our sinful nature is at enmity with God. So you have the religiously empowered form of unbelief under the guise of religious institutions that say they believe. Very reminiscent of when the man came to Christ and said, "Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief." A lot of religions and organisations, Christian ones, suffer from multiple forms of unbelief, but yet they do believe, but it's all muddled up. That's the religious form of unbelief, empowered by rules for righteousness, empowered by the things we think we need to do or not do to make God happy or stop him from being sad. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, there's just the normal, everyday, inherent secular form of unbelief that we all suffer from. Now, the most dangerous form of unbelief is the religious form of unbelief, because it's the root of all religious forms of evil. It's the root of all religious forms of evil. Now I'm just going to take a minute to thank these people. I don't interrupt you, but I do want to say thanks to the ambulance people, because 7 months ago I had a kitebreaker up at Saratoga. I kiteboard out here, but I haven't been able to, and you came and fixed me up. And thanks for what you do. Have a nice day. And so the religious form of unbelief is much more dangerous and destructive in many ways than the secular form of unbelief, and I don't think many people are aware of this at the moment in religious circles, because we label unbelief simply as unbelief, but it's much more complicated than that, and I'm sure you can understand what I'm saying. So the Lord says, and he'll be killed, and after 3 days rise again. So not only is he explaining the crucifixion, introducing the inevitable definiteness, if that's a word, the inevitableness of the crucifixion, he's introduced and brought to light, brought to reality, the inevitableness of the resurrection. So the Messiah is going to suffer and be killed, but that's not where it's going to end. In 3 days after that, he is going to rise from the dead. Now this is massive, and as I said before, everything changes now in the atmosphere and climate of the spiritual realm, because the word is out. Now he spoke this word openly, and then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, which is a normal human reaction. You can't do that. You can't say that you're going to be killed and then rise 3 days later. Who do you think you are? Why would you say such a thing? But when he had turned around and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter, saying, and this is an incredible, absolutely incredible statement, and I'm glad it wasn't me. Morning!
How are you?
Good, how are you? That's the way. Get behind me, Satan, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men. Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.